Now, over 4,000 years ago, we rejected God's government. We rejected his theocracy on this earth. Now, up until that point, Israel had done a pretty good job of being self-governing. They did have judges back then, but judges were maybe like a Supreme Court. They were, when situations were too hard for the people, they would come to the judges with a particular, complicated situation, and the judges would decide, okay, this is the right thing to do. This is what you should do. That was the purpose of the judges. But up until this point, they had been pretty much self-governing. Every man did what was right in his own eyes. Yeah, every man didn't do what was wrong in his own eyes. Every man did what was right in his own eyes. So they were self-governing. But they came to a point where they were sick of governing themselves. And they said, we want a king. We want a king like the other nations around us. We want the king to do for us what we should be doing for ourselves, is basically what they said. Now let's pick up the story here in 1 Samuel 8 and verse 6. It says, but the thing displeased Samuel, that is when they asked for a king, when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said, this is 1 Samuel 8 and verse 7, the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto you, for they have not rejected you, Samuel, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Now, in a sense, this asking for a king was a rejection of God. Now, how was that? How was that so? Well, you see, when we refuse to be self-governing, in a sense, that is rejecting God. When we refuse to govern ourselves and do the right thing, that is a rejection of God. Adam and Eve refused to have the self-governing discipline to do the right thing. They chose poorly. They made the wrong decision. And because of that, in a sense, they both rejected God. Now, when you refuse to govern yourself and do the right thing, what normally happens? Well, we sin. That's what happens. Sin is a rejection of God. Now, let me clarify something. When we go to because I said, in a way, when they asked for a king, it was a rejection of God. But let me clarify something. When we go to the voting booths to vote for a man, we are not rejecting God by doing so. By voting, you're simply acknowledging that 4,000 years ago, we asked for a king because we had gotten tired of governing ourselves. Don't ever let that slip by you. Every time you go to the polls and you choose whatever person you're voting for, the reason for it is an acknowledgement that over 4,000 years ago, we asked for a king because we had gotten tired of being self-governed. Simply governing ourselves and doing the right thing.